broken by words spoken or unspoken. Treated like a token when you're gold. Picked up and thrown when you were meant to hold. To keep warm and to carry. Not to be burned, no. Your worth is not earned, no. So let your hope rise up from the ashes. Let the fire forge you like shattered pieces of a blade into a woman set ablaze. That's how warriors are made. She knows her time, she knows her place, she knows her name, she knows her face. Full of faith.
Hello. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Selena Yip. I am the Festival Director for the Philadelphia Asian American Film Festival, and you are currently watching the Q&A for Excavated Memories. So I just want to sort of go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves, if that's all right. Just your name and your film. Yeah, Daniel, you want to say?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel. I'm from South Korea. I'm currently in Seoul right now, and I'm the director of the film Providence, which is a documentary about my family.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tadashi Nakamura. I'm the co-director of Atomic Cafe, and here also representing for the other co-director, Akita Bach, who can't be here.
Hi, I'm the director of Within Their Gates. My name is Matthew Goryczkowski.
Hi, my name is Yukio Shimomura. I'm the one that was interviewed by Matt, and I'm very pleased to meet all of you today. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Schoen. I'm the director of Sing Me a Lullaby, and here I am with my mother. Say hi, Mom. Hi everyone. Sing Me a Lullaby goes back 14 years ago when I went to go look for my mother's biological parents in Taiwan.
Great. Thank you all so much. I just want to start with like a general question of obviously like how did you find the stories, or how are you inspired to document the stories that you did in your films? Obviously this is to the filmmakers, and I definitely have a question for Wendy and Yukio after. Tiffany, why don't you start? Why don't we go back?
Okay, I mean, I think as most filmmakers, doc filmmakers can relate to, when a film spans for such a long period of time, you and yourself kind of grow with the film as well, and grow from, I guess, your first initial intention. And if you let that sit long enough, you realize that things can evolve into something completely different. And so when I started this, it was just a very rebellious, adamant, overly confident conquest to do this and to kind of break the Asian, traditional Chinese Asian taboo of like not talking about the difficult things. And I was just like,
actually more so to prove us wrong, because we never thought she could have done it, you know.
Sure, yeah, like
and
that.
that was more the idea behind the trip initially.
But then I also didn't continue, like it was hard to continue making the film. And as time kind of unraveled and I was still filming, over a period of time, it was really hard to actually look back on the footage that I'd shot. And for the longest time, I actually thought that I had done something wrong by going on that initial trip. And so I think I had to grow up and learn, and also have the experience that I did with making my first feature to be able to finish this film. So I think the intentions changed over the years, and I'm so glad that I was able to make the film now versus when I was 21 years old. I think it would have been a very, very different film. I think now the approach and the intention is to tell a story, a universal story where people can, you know, relate to, and also ask themselves the same questions around, you know, how does truth set you free, and does it really, how our past impacts us, and some things don't really begin with us and can allow us to enrich our relationships with the people we love, just by starting to listen.
You said that this film took you many years, like, do you mind if I asked you how many years? And was it like, like consistently, or did you come back to it?
Periodically. So I started in 2005, and then went back again 2006. Then started filming some scenes of it or some moments of it 2008, 2009, and then that's when I started my feature, which was also in Asia. So I was filming in Korea, China, and the Philippines at the time, and so there was some overlap. So if you watch the film, you'll see that in 2013 I'm back in Taiwan, and I'm actually the only reason I have a camera with me to meet my mother in the hospital is because I was on my way to the Philippines to film one of the grandmothers that had asked me to come and see her. Well, she was also in the hospital, so there was two grandmothers in the hospital at the same time. And then I continued filming The Apology, and then I continued filming Sing Me a Lullaby as things continue to unravel. And even though the film is done, there's still so much that continues to unfold. I'm sure Daniel can relate, like family stories continue to evolve even though once the film is done. And so I feel very privileged to be able to have the opportunity to document this moment in time. But also it's weird to think that, it's still going on, it doesn't just finish there. And I hope that when people see that, they can see that, the stories continue and further, and people can take it and take their own stories and envision their own stories within that as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Matthew, would you like to talk a little bit about your film?
Yeah, so Yukio came to my university and gave a presentation about the Japanese American concentration camps. And I remember seeing the audience and just seeing how passionate and emotional he was when talking about this. And I learned a little bit about it when I was in high school. But after hearing Yukio, I wanted to learn more. So I contacted him. And if I was in the film class at the time, so I decided, this might be a good film to do as a project. And then when I got to know Yukio, I just kind of like it was a very emotional experience, like going through this. We ended up going to Manzanar here in California. We spent 6 hours there just walking around filming, and like it was a surreal experience. And we spent some time interviewing Yukio and meeting his family, and getting to know what kind of experience this was, and how it's kind of in many ways still happening today. Yeah.
And when Yukio came to your university, was this the first time that you really delved into this history, or did you sort of already have background on Japanese American internment?
I had a very basic knowledge from high school, but I didn't really know too much about it. It was just kind of like one of those things you kind of learn about for a day and then never discuss again. So when I met Yukio as presentation, that was when I first really felt, how how awful this experience really was.
Right, it became real.
Yeah,
it wasn't on a textbook. Yeah,
exactly.
So then why did you choose this particular story for your film? Was this you said you were a student, so was this a student film, or what drew you to this particular story of all the stories that I'm sure you've heard?
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of, it just felt right. Like it felt like at the time it was necessary, and this was the story that I wanted to tell. I don't really have any reason besides that. I just went by my feeling. Like I said, when I met Yuki, I was like, I have to tell this story. I have to pursue this, which is why I contacted him, and then we went through everything to get to him.
Mm. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Tad, Daniel, would either of you like to talk about your films?
For me personally, the Atomic Cafe was a place that kind of was really well known, maybe a generation before me within Little Tokyo. So I heard about it from my parents. I especially heard about this woman named Atomic Nancy who had this really killer voice. But this actual film specifically was really spearheaded by the Little Tokyo Service Center. And that's a nonprofit organization here in LA, in Little Tokyo. And they do tons of things, but one of the things they are trying to do, and they have been trying to do, is really trying to combat the gentrification of Little Tokyo. And like many cities, everywhere right now, we're experiencing a lot of gentrification. And so the Atomic Cafe itself had been closed, but the building was at that point going to be demolished to create a metro station. And so, part of their campaign to not only, make sure that the new stores, new residents that are coming into Little Tokyo know the history, we're also finding that our stories itself were being gentrified. So, for example, the story of Atomic Cafe at that time was getting some attention by mainstream press, but it was really focusing more on the punk scene, more on the white famous artists and celebrities that used to frequent the place, and really was ignoring the Japanese American history aspect of the story. So we really wanted to kind of document this story for ourselves and to make sure that it's told from a Japanese American Little Tokyo perspective.
Yeah, definitely. When I first started looking into just like punk culture, this was like a couple of years ago, and I was working with someone who had also been sort of like in that scene. He was white, but we went to this really amazing presentation out in West Philly, sort of about the people of color within that scene, and it was so eye-opening to me because from the perspective of someone who has not participated in this culture, it has been very whitewashed, and obviously, that is true for many movements and cultures as well, or subcultures as well. So I really appreciated that about Atomic Cafe, was that it definitely was drawing attention to the fact that there are people, people of color who have led parts of these movements that have definitely not gotten the attention that they should and the recognition that they should. So that's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
Daniel.
Yeah, I guess, well, there's been a lot of, I guess, a handful of tragic events in my family's recent history. And I guess I always wanted to like pinpoint the reason behind those failures or those events. And and I started looking for reasons, and like, was it my father's ambitions and his consequent failure? Or like, was it even back in like history and like with the Asian financial crisis, can it be attributed to that? Or like, was the failure somehow due to this rush to America and to find this American dream? Or was it in fact like the history of like American military presence in Korea, and like there's all of these different aspects of history that kind of seep into my family's the trajectory of my family. And yeah, I guess in this short film, I just wanted to map out kind of those events and like what exactly was going on, what exactly influenced my family's history, and yeah, that's how I got Providence where it is. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. So I called this short block Excavated Memories because a lot of you sort of use, you all use this idea of memory and digging through either our collective memory, like in Atomic Cafe, or a personal memory, like with all of your other films. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about that part of your films, that device in your films, the process of digging into your memories and putting them out there for others to sort of consume? What was that like? And especially for Wendy and Yukio, like what was it like to dig into your personal histories like that?
Ask me the last part of your question again, please.
What was it like to sort of like relive or re-experience the memories that you had, and also to have those be translated into film?
It's I'm 85 years old, and what happened is that there was a request for presentation at Weber State University, and what it did for me in bringing back all the memories is that I realized what my parents went through, and so in all of the presentations that I do, I dedicate it to my parents. But in hindsight, for myself, I guess when I share with people that when you turn 80 years old, things pop in and things pop out just as quickly. And so I tried to capture what had popped in, and I realized that going into the concentration camps in Northern California as well as in Utah, it gave me a perspective of how the U.S. government had treated people. And so anyway, bringing back memories is a very emotional experience. And with Matt, he drew out a lot of feelings that I had, and I was able to express it in the film that he had done. And he really did me a great favor, because I didn't realize that I had stored them up as much as I did. And so I was able to release it. And then in the process of that, the reconciliation within myself was very significant, and it's part of the healing process that I think all of us go through as minorities, as to what issues that we're confronted with. And so I'm very sensitive to what's happened to the Africans that came over, the indigenous people of the United States, as well as the Hispanic people, and as well as all of the issues that we all face, whether we're Asians or what. That it's very traumatic, and to register it is very significant. And I'm glad that Matt helped me with what I had gone through. It's a catharsis process, I guess, is really what I'm saying.
Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like it was a very healing film for you.
Say again, please.
It sounds like it was a very like healing process for you.
Yeah.
Part of the healing process.
Yeah, even at 80, I'm not as rigid as some other guys that are my age, but I'm having, it's a very, it's an emotional experience just to really think of what we've been through. And if you don't register it, then you still stay unconscious. And part of the thing that I've been able to raise is my consciousness of what I've been through, as well as what my family's been through, and what I'm only part of 110,000 people that went through it, but it's very significant. And a lot of the people have gone. And I'm one of the youngest people that have the memory of the experience, because anybody older than me would have difficulties with their memory, and then anybody younger than me would not have the memory to recall what we've been through. So I've been lucky to be able to recall a lot of it and to do presentations. So anyway, I'm taking up too much of your time, and I appreciate what you're allowing me to say.
Thank you so much, Yukio. Wendy, I would love to know sort of what your experience was, also sort of diving into memory, but also like discovering at the same time new external things. Because it sounds like Yukio was discovering a lot internally, but you discovered a lot externally. So can you tell me a little bit about what that process was like, or what that was like for you?
Well, it's interesting because what Tiffany had set out to do a long time ago was something that was a question that I had all the time throughout my life, and as I was growing up, but I never had the courage to ask anyone around me. I mean, more directly, my adopted mother, because it just it's kind of like a taboo not to provoke or open up any Pandora box. So I kept this question in my head for so long, and sure enough, Tiffany was she was curious enough to dig deeper, and then of course observing all the unusual side that I presented myself at the time. I mean, of course, I try to hide a lot from the children, from people around me, because there are times where I would, behind closed doors, would cry, and it's just like things when you face frustrations, you don't know where to turn to, so you do that secretly on your own. But sure enough, she caught on to that, and then she thought it was very important that I find out the truth of my past. And all I knew was that I was given away when I was at a younger age. I thought, back then it was very normal. Parents divorced, they couldn't afford to raise all their children, they gave them away. And then so that was a simple-minded answer that I kept telling myself. Sorry, this is the little one. So I kind of have to live with that story that I told myself. My parents loved me, however, they were so poor they couldn't afford to keep 4 kids, and so so they have to give me away. But until she obviously found out more truth about it, and as she said, truth is not easily taken. Sometimes it doesn't really set us free, because it's like the more you peel, you keep finding more layers and layers to a stories. So finding out more about my birth parents, more about the past, yes, it's not the easiest thing, but I guess you just have to live up, conjure up the courage and then face it. But I'm overall, I'm very grateful, and I'm very thankful that that we found out the truth, the story behind it, or the causes, or the people who played important part of it. And I truly believe what happened to me as a child, that I fought very hard in my own life to ensure that it will never happen to my kids. I keep thinking it's actually a very simple story and not uncommon at all back then, because it's people do sell their children when they are poor, and that's that.
Let me just add a couple things. One, what I hear you saying is that opening Pandora's box is very, very significant, because what it does is gives you who you are and where you've been, and it gives you the depth. And I know that the pain is there, but the healing is available also, because what you're doing is raising your consciousness so that then it frees you up. And I appreciate what you've been through. So all I can tell you is hang in there, because there's more available, and there's more consciousness that you're going to experience. And just think of what it's going to do for you and your family. It's a beautiful story. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you both for sharing. Thank you so much. Daniel, you sort of have an interesting dive into memory, because I think it's you sort of say at the end of your film, like your mom or one of your parents, I can't remember which one, was kind of just like, don't refer to us as, you know, who we are, just call us a family or the family. So and this is sort of a part two of your earlier film, and another dive into sort of like your history, your family history. So I'm really curious about like, is there, or it sounds like there is pushback, and do you have any ideas of why? Because obviously Yukio and Wendy are telling us it's quite healing for them. But you know, how has your family sort of reacted to your film, or have they watched your film at all?
Yeah. I would love to say that I showed them and our family kind of, you know, had this big discussion in which we opened our hearts. But to be honest, to be 100% honest, that hasn't happened yet. And I think it's partly because everything that I explore in my films, I think they're present, they're ongoing, and that's why it's really hard for me to even be able to make a film like this, because it's kind of like suggesting a thesis of the way things were and the way things happened, and they may reject that thesis because it may not be like that to them. And I think what I really wanted to do, though, was share with the world this narrative, or at least my take of things, and to show that you know, even though my father is in prison right now, it's not like I'm not trying to justify what he did, but there is a larger picture of events that kind of map out how things happened, and that's what I wanted to offer to my family, or at least that's what I thought I should do. And I think I drew the line differently from my mother, who doesn't want this family, who doesn't want you know, these ideas kind of explored specifically in our family's name. And I think I just wanted to show her that there is also good to come from this exploration. And I think that's where kind of my ending, you know, comes in place.
So we are quite over time, actually, but I would love to know sort of what is next for you, especially for Tad, your film. Like, what is next, and how do you see it impacting sort of the fight in Little Tokyo right now? And this is sort of like a general question to everyone, but that was my specific question to Tad. Oh, Tad, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, so this film is actually continuing to play the film festival circuit. But Zen, who's featured in the film, the daughter of Atomic Nancy, she's actually working on a feature-length project. So this will definitely kind of was just a bite-sized piece to kind of get the story out there. But the family is working on a much larger project.
Awesome.
That's cool. I'm actually, this whole short documentary is actually part of a larger thing that I'm in the midst of doing, which would be scripting out my first feature fiction that's based on the events here. I have a fascination of wanting to see what 1960s Taiwan looked like for both my grandmother and for my mother. And I think film gives us that opportunity to reimagine the world that was once before, and events that was before our time that inevitably shaped who we are today. So I'm excited about that project, and continuing our festival circuit with Sing the Lullaby as we do that.
Matthew?
Yeah, so actually our film is coming to the end of its festival circuit, but it kind of, I would love for it to be shown here in Little Tokyo in Los Angeles. I was trying to do that before COVID. I was getting in contact with some organizers in Little Tokyo, but once COVID hit, I kind of stopped, and I was like, well, it'll happen when it happens. But this documentary turned into a podcast that we made called Our Small Majority. You listen to it on any major listening platforms like Spotify or something, but it's a social justice podcast that I'm doing with some friends who helped with this documentary. And we interview people from we've interviewed criminology professors from Denmark and the United States, and a lot of it focuses on incarceration. And we're going to be coming out with our second season soon, which is going to be focused more on entertainment.
Great.
So,
Daniel?
Thank you.
Yeah, basically, I'm trying to write a feature film based on my past two short films and kind of really dive into the history of my family in specific through that medium of a feature film. But yeah, I'm excited to start doing that.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, Yukio, Wendy. I'm especially glad that you both joined us today. So thank you all for spending the time to talk to us. 30 minutes was very short, but thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you haven't watched the films, today is your last day to watch it, so you can get tickets at paaff.org. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thanks for pulling this together.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
You say this kill, black and brown, and when will you talk about class in this story? The rest is allegory. Come together, unionize, see it through each other's eyes. No need to fight over supplies while workers save lives. They need protection too. What we gonna do? Organize our way through. And for those behind bars, we must fight hard. Global pandemic, endemic, systemic. No equality, no quality of life.